Hello, dear Laurentians, both old and new. To those of you who do not know me, let me introduce myself. I am E.J.John. The old Laurentians who do know me, many of them senior citizens now, used to call me Yanni at school for reasons best known only to them. In good time, however, I've realized that there was no ill will towards me in giving me that nickname. It was for the instance of one such old student, John K. Paul, the OLA president, that I agreed to share some of my memories, as well as I can recall them. You see, at 91, going on 92, I've grown a bit rusty to speak off the cuff. So I've written down my thoughts, and in reading them, if I falter occasionally, I'm sure you will take it in the stride. It's been well nigh 50 years since I left the sprawling premises of Lawrence School campus. I taught there in the second half of the 60s and left in 1971. No doubt you will agree with me that no one passes through the portals of Lawrence School campus without having gained a well-rounded education. The teachers were not merely subject masters who taught history or maths or what have you, but were also facilitators in having molded the all-round development of their wards into preparing them to face the challenges of life with confidence. I must in particular mention here the merit scholars who joined the school in those days, with little show and even less English. Unlike the English spouting classmates who came with lots of panache. However, they almost always outdid their coevals, both in curricular and extracurricular activities. This is what Lovedale could do for students. In co-curricular activities, the students and teachers strove together as a team, be it in sports, games, acting, debates, music, dancing, gymnastics, you name it. All this was done with bonds of friendship and goodwill. There was no better example of this camaraderie as the sight of that daily ritual of teachers and pupils, both boys and girls, having tea, or only an apology for tea, at the counter under the jacaranda tree in the lawns, at break time every working day. It was a perfect picture of easy informality and unity in diversity. You see, all of us were drawn from all parts of India, each with its own different vernacular and culture. And all this under the leadership and guidance and reassuring presence of that great personality, K.I. Thomas, who was headmaster then. Always well-groomed and dignified, he was a man of great equanimity and composure. In his dealings with the faculty, he was neither too stern nor too soft, friendly but formal. In spite of his position and experience, he never laid down the law arbitrarily. He was always willing to listen to other people's views and defer to them if he was convinced of it, for he knew that long-held opinions were not necessarily self-evident truths. He was hardly ever provoked into punishing erring pupils for their peccadillos, except to give them a talking to. If the misdemeanor was serious enough for corporal punishment, he would not hand it out himself, but delegate it to the quartermaster of St. Mirren to give the offender the stick in the privacy of his office, and that too not too seriously. You see, he disliked to humiliate his students. There was only one occasion, however, when, having been convinced by the rest of the faculty that enough was enough, he used the cane himself to make a public example of the erring prefects at the morning assembly in the large hall. I forget the exact devilment that prompted him to act so uncharacteristically, but I do remember how he flung the cane away as he was leaving the hall, in evident self-loathing. Then he paused and declared that what the school needed was a sergeant major and not a headmaster to run it, and that he was going to resign. He took all the persuasive powers of his colleagues to make him desist, and the whole school community heaved a sigh of collective relief. Of all my colleagues, the one I was most drawn to was Harnam Sisodia. I liked him for his joie de vivre, his joy of life. One cold evening, just before Christmas one year, I heard a knock on our door. On opening it, who do I see but the ebullient Harnam in a heavy overcoat and fur cap, holding in his right hand a bottle of Hercules XXX rum, and with his wife Sheila in tow. He let out a holler on seeing me and broke into a parody of a carol, "Joy to the world, Harnam has come." I invited them in, and in time, Christmas gaiety followed. My wife, Amu, replenished the snacks from time to time, well into the night. Sadly, Harnam is no more. Another colleague I liked was the unassuming, ever pleasant, ever helpful, gentle Sarvapakin. I particularly remember going on out-of-town camps for the boys with him. On one such occasion, near Dorabita Peak, as we were sauntering up a hillock one morning, we came upon a herd of elephants making a meal of it in a clump of bamboo. Before we could react, a couple of the boys had decided it was clever to throw stones at the elephants. Taken by surprise, the unraised mother elephant broke from the crowd and came charging at us. We ran, running for our lives, helter-skelter down the slope amidst tea bushes. To our immense relief, the animal soon stopped. We learned later that elephants don't like running down a slope. Another time, we were near Paikara Lake. On the evening before we broke up, everyone would prepare a grand dinner that was called the Badakana. In a moment of madness, Selva and I, surreptitiously caught rainbow trout with an improvised rod and line and cooked our catch for the dinner. It was particularly exhilarating, if only for the guilty thrill that it gave us. After all, in every man, there is still a boy longing to reenact his past. I condole all who knew Selva on his recent passing. And then I remember Selva's neighbor on the Lovedale Hills, the one and only Mrs. Enos, my senior at school. I gather happily that she's just around the corner from hitting a century and is still her sprightly old self, full of beans. Which reminds me of the poet Browning's lines, "Grow old along with me, the best is yet to be, the last of life for which the first was made. Let me sign off on that happy note. Keep up the good work. I wish you all the very best in your endeavors. May you all keep the school flag flying high. Thank you very much.